Now it's time for Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation.
What are you people? On dope?
Where you can toke.
I inhale frequently.
Or you can talk.
I experimented with marijuana and didn't inhale.
Or you can toke and talk.
10 federal criminal penalties for possession of up to 1 ounce of marijuana.
While we talk about toke on Toker Talk Radio.
So, by the way, when it comes to pot, you know, if you're 40 years old, you live in a log cabin in Oregon, you got 12 giant pot plants in your backyard, have a ball.
Live from beautiful Portland, Oregon at Rolla J Studios.
Hey, this is great.
Yes, cannabis. Plus your calls live at 971-533-7111.
They're walking on their pants with their cap on backwards, listening to Enema Man and Snoopy Poop Dog.
What's to keep somebody from getting all potted up on weed and then getting behind the wheel? Gateway theory doesn't work. It's a reality.
Holland, is it real? Don't tease me.
We're locking up people that take a couple of puffs of marijuana, and the next thing you know, they got 10 years.
And now, here's your host, the guru of ganja graphics, the sultan of sativa statistics, and the worst nightmare of a reefer mad prohibitionist. A polite, perspicacious, productive pothead with a propensity for PowerPoint. Radical Russ Belville.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. It is 7/10, July 10th. We're headed toward 420 on 7/10. I think that's kind of cool. That's got to be good for something. Hey, you know what? When the replay plays, it plays at 7 o'clock. So at 4:10, it'll be 7:10, kind of.
So we'll have to puff at 4:10 so they can make sure they puff at 7:10.
Something like that.
Okay.
Although we don't have any oil on us. That's the damn thing. We got some hash.
Yeah. A little bit of hash. Down to...
Hey, before we get too deep into the show, I have to make a very, very special thank you. And I also have to pause and reflect on just how cool some of my friends are. And this goes out to Dr. Mitch Earlywine, who called me yesterday just to talk to me.
Yeah.
Just because he's been reading my Facebook and seeing that, you know, life has been going through some upheavals. And so he just called to talk to me. Wow. That's awesome.
Yep.
I just want to say thanks, Dr. Mitch. That was cool. Getting ready to travel, heading out to the 710 Cup in Denver. We'll be there, land Thursday night late, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we'll be there at the Cup. And I'm kind of going just as a roving reporter. I'm not going to set up a booth or anything, although I might try to stream audio. We're going to see what we can do to make that happen.
This is Roving Russ Belville for High Times Cannabis Cup. Oh,
That's
no,
right.
this is the 710 Cup.
Oh, 710 Cup.
710
That's right.
Cup, yes.
So we'll do that, and then I'm going to I decided to take 3 days in Idaho to hang out with my family and to visit with Lindsay Reinhardt in the Idaho 3. And they're working to get the Idaho Hope Fest this year. This will be the 3rd annual Idaho Hope Fest, and they're facing what happens to just about every third-year festival. You know, where some people have to move on and some debts haven't been paid and they're scrambling, trying to figure how we're ever going to get this going this year. And oh my God. And the other thing that is an additional thing that you don't get in Washington or Oregon or California is the people who end up at the top that end up being the functional activists in the state of Idaho become targets. And then they want to get the hell out of Idaho. So what happens? How do you recruit people in a deep red state when you're a leader and you're leaving the state because being a leader got a target on your back? But no, come on in and help us run this thing.
Yeah.
Like, what?
You come in and run it here while I go over there. And, no, it's
so it's tough. So we're going to talk. I'm going to have some time to hang out with them, talk to them, and strategize and see what we can do to keep Idaho Hope Fest alive, because I have survivor guilt from Idaho. I left Idaho in 2003 because I discovered you could.
Yep, red state refugee.
There's like no walls, there's no moats, there's no fences, guard dogs, sharks with freaking lasers on their head. You can just leave. It's okay. Whatever state you're in America, you can leave. And I know people are like, oh, I can't afford it. I don't have any money. Dude, you're not much broker than I am. I've been broke. Well, Brian's broker than I am. I know how you're fighting too.
Yeah,
man, so I didn't want to come off as
no. I've seen all the sides of it, so I'm just living on the the underside of it.
There we go. But, there's ways it can be done. But the problem that happens then is when you leave your state, well, who's left to go fight in your state, right? You left your state because it sucked as a marijuana state. What's going to happen is the entire United States just going to be cool marijuana states in the Northeast, Upper Midwest, and West, and then sucky marijuana states in the Intermountain West, and the South, and the Southwest. I mean, that sucks. I don't want to see America turn into two countries, weed-friendly and unweed-friendly, although it is.
Well, instead of a red and blue, it would just be green, red, and blue. 3 countries.
There we go, green, red, and blue.
Yeah, we should change the flag. I think that it needs to be, because we came across the water a long time ago. The field of blue should be changed to green, I think. Or maybe some of the stars should be changed to green. Every time, yeah. Nah.
I like or change the stars green when they pass medical marijuana.
That's what I was thinking too.
That gave me an idea for a great graphic. Thank you.
Yeah,
I think I'll make that. Anyway, another little crazy thought that I've had time after time is, every 10 years in the United States we redistrict our congressional districts by Constitution and the census, right? And they always end up getting gerrymandered. And if you don't know a lot of politics, gerrymandering just means that you draw a map that's so. It looks like a salamander, right? That's where it originally came from. Eldridge Gerry in the 1700s. Anyway, not important. It just means to draw a congressional district in such a way that it favors you voting-wise, right? Like if you're a Republican, you might draw a district that has the rich houses over here and skips over the ghetto and then hits the suburbs over here and then has a long finger that goes up to the resort town. I mean,
we'll have the little line that goes right down this block that's a nice business area.
Yeah.
And then we'll have it go around the outside, the ghettos behind.
Exactly. And it can be done on the other side too, as far as Democrats drawing lines that include more Latinos or gay neighborhoods or whatever. But the point is that every 10 years we have this gerrymandering, this redistricting of our congressional districts. I think every 50 years we ought to be able to redraw the boundaries of the states. Just have entirely, instead of Oregon and Washington and being like they are, just make a long strip, kind of like Chile in South America. Make a long strip from the Cascade Mountains west that goes from Vancouver, BC, all the way down to, the Emerald Triangle, Cascadia, boom.
Green Coast.
Perfect state to live in. Doug Fir flag rules. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to finish up that Today's Show piece and talk more about kids and medical marijuana. Listen to Toker Talk Radio on 420radio.org and tunein.com.
The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
The law offices of Omar Figueroa would like to remind you to stand up for your rights. Please do not give up your precious liberties. There's nothing wrong with standing up for our constitutional rights, and in fact, it's the only way to honor the Constitution that recognizes our natural rights. Treat law enforcement with respect and respect the Constitution by standing up for your rights. If you are detained or arrested, stand up for your rights by repeating, "I respectfully invoke all my legal and constitutional rights. I do not consent to any search and seizure. I want to remain silent, and I want to speak to my attorney, Omar Figueroa." Omar Figueroa has more than a decade of experience in federal and California courts and graduated from Yale University, Stanford Law School, and Trial Lawyers College. Please contact the law offices of Omar Figueroa at 415-489-0420 or 707-829-0215 or on the web at www.omarfigueroa.com.
I get along in the middle America, but now I'm feeling blue. Summertime and I'm feeling just like I'm missing something new. Folks on the coast are pushing the most and the legislator is here. Legal, medical, decriminalizing, the cannabis is here. I should move out to Cali, I like Colorado. I should move out to Oregon State, where they let a plant grow. Don't get me wrong, I know what you're thinking, but this is not abuse. And as you walk by your medicine cabinet, get all the drugs you use.
Happy 710. It's 710 on a replay on 710, so
710.
dab it up.
Dabby, buddy.
Lays that nail. Whatever you got to do. Hope you're having a good day on 710. You're listening to Toker Talk Radio, the voice of the marijuana nation, right here on 420radio.org and on tunein.com. We've got a new audio-only feed, not only on TuneIn, but you can download a little file and plug it into any of your media players that are internet capable.
Any streaming media player will pull this as a PLS file.
It's a PLS file. Listen.pls. Playlist file. Connects you right to 420 Radio.
Bam.
Save it as a favorite. Great for cell phones, for those smartphones, 3G phones that don't have great coverage, dial-up modems, solar-powered Cambodian-generated PC operations.
Or if you're one of those guys hiding out in the forest, watching it grow, charging your cell phone battery with a
car
battery.
Perfect for you.
Might be good for you.
This is perfect for you. So check it out. All right, we were looking earlier at the Today Show and their coverage of the and you got to love the chyron on this. Pot for tots.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. Are you seriously? Should I back this up just a
little bit? Yeah, let's back up a little bit to when Snyderman comes in and starts talking about, well, we don't know. We don't know how bad marijuana might be.
There's really no way of telling. Okay, I think this should be good.
All right, just use the rant.
Yeah, let's go ahead and get that graphic back.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Pot for tots, Today Show, this morning.
Ridiculousness.
That a couple of generations ago, people were recommending tobacco, even physicians were recommending tobacco as a good method of relaxation or to relieve stress. It seems unbelievable now.
Is your concern at this point that if someone has a medical...
All right, so yeah, the doctors back in the 50s as shills for the tobacco industry were, just like we got, doctors who are shills for the oil industry now that deny that there's any sort of man-made climate change, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, right? They exist everywhere, right? But here's the thing. Doctors in the 50s weren't recommending that children smoke cigarettes to cure 10 years of epilepsy.
No, but they were advertising in Boy's Life.
I
believe.
Is your concern at this point that if someone has a medical problem in their child and they turn to marijuana, they're swapping one problem for another?
I think that they are putting their child at risk of long-term consequences of marijuana use that we don't fully understand.
Yeah, because we don't have any long-term marijuana users to compare them to.
Yeah.
We have no idea what will happen. Oh my gosh.
And we don't know if it'll be so much worse than the 60 to 250 epileptic seizures that he was suffering per 24-hour period.
Yeah,
can you do the math on that? That means on really bad days, this kid was having like 10 an hour.
Yeah.
Or more. 10 seizures an hour. And you heard that mother. She was saying that, he stops breathing.
Yes.
He can't, until he's done seizing, and that's frightening.
But don't worry, the loss of oxygen to the brain would nowhere hurt him as bad as pot.
It is appalling. She said that, after the first treatment, she sat and watched him for a good 3 hours. And then she was actually able to fall asleep. Just like she was surprised.
Yeah.
So, it was a miracle she had never even considered before that this could happen, that, something that grew out of the ground.
And I wonder on the editorial side of this, when we're pushing this in the NBC newsroom and the Today Show newsroom, because I imagine anybody with half a brain that watches this goes, all right, look, kid had epilepsy, worked for him, now he doesn't. You're kind of ginning up a controversy here. Really? You're worried about the gateway theory? Really?
Yeah.
You're worried about the long-term effects? Really?
They did the whole gateway thing. That is,
And so I can't imagine that any intelligent people in the newsroom, the editors or anything, can't be on the side of the mom here. So how much of this is just, we have to present both sides of the story. We have to try to make it fair and balanced. This is one of the problems with the American news media. There are issues upon which there are right and wrong. Mm-hmm. There are issues upon which there are facts and there are conjecture.
There is a clear line in the sand in some cases.
And this false equivalence, this false notion of we have to be balanced. Well, here's some pro thing on how this marijuana helped a kid that is a fact that we can show, that we have visual evidence of. So we better find somebody from a Boston medical thing to talk about it.
Now, I'm looking at this here line right above the player. Cannabinoids work by hijacking normal brain circuitry.
Yeah, don't you love that one?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? By hijacking?
Yeah, this
is...
Yeah, and it says...
Because it has the key to unlocking...
Well, let me give you the follow-up. This is the paragraph that comes right after that. It says, in other words, the cannabinoids in pot are very similar to substances our own brains naturally make called endocannabinoids. These substances serve to quiet excessive activity, whether it's in the immune system, in the gut, or in the nervous system. Getty explained to NBCNews.com.
Yeah.
When cells become overactive, a switch is thrown and endocannabinoids are released. Once they lock onto receptors in the brain, quote, a message is sent there to tell the cells to calm down. It's a balancing system, and it's what keeps seizures from happening in healthy brains. In these kids, the system's overwhelmed. It needs a little extra help.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit better than the whole tagline right above the video player.
Yes.
Cannabinoids work by hijacking normal brain circuitry.
Right. Yeah.
Which is totally false. It allows for a complete medical stasis, to be maintained.
And the word hijacking has a frame to it
hijacking.
that implies that
hijacking.
It's some sort of overtaking of some sort of power, taking over from the natural system. The natural system's not working. That's the problem.
That line kind of reminds me of right after 9/11, they were like having those commercials. If you buy even 1 gram of pot, you're supporting terrorism.
That's right.
Hijacking the brain circuitry. You guys need to kick your own ass.
That's suspicious.
Still, Heather says it's worth it because after a decade, she can finally get to know her son.
We never really got to meet Zakai because he started having seizures so early. Zakai is incredibly funny and charming and loving. It's been really nice to see him, come awake.
No one is saying this is a first-line drug of choice, but increasingly, as children need the solution for problems that traditional medicine isn't treating, increasingly parents are turning to this avenue. I think we're not going to see the FDA step in and have traditional clinical trials, but this is a controversy that's not going to go away. And because it's in 17 states, I do think this is a trend in this country.
Thought-provoking piece, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Santa. Yeah, we're all real worried about whether or not the FDA will declare marijuana as safe as Vioxx and Fen-Phen.
Yeah,
that's our concern.
What thoughts did it provoke for you?
Oh my God!
You guys, come on! All the way from gateway theory to we don't have any. The FDA is not going to come in and do this. Well, they can't, and they already know that they can't because there are so many different strains out there and substrains and phenotypes, genotypes. It's ridiculous. You cannot. You can't find one specific strain that the FDA is going to agree is beneficial overall and that they can do these clinical tests on. It's not gonna happen.
The only thing they can get involved in here is the use of cannabinoids, being able to extract the different cannabinoids and make something of them of a consistent dose and variety and makeup and potency. That's what the FDA is designed to do. That is the little mechanism that is put into place to regulate food and drugs. Marijuana in this particular context is neither food nor drug. It's herb. It's more akin to the whole panoply of what they call nutraceuticals out there.
Yeah,
the St. John's wort.
This new thing called nutraceuticals, that people have been using in homeopathic medicine for generations.
And I'm fine with it. And they're allowed through some great lobbying from Senator Orrin Hatch of Utah, where a lot of these cannaceutical companies are built, right? They're allowed to put just about anything in a pill bottle, in whatever they're making, right? As long as they put on this little disclaimer. These are not intended or designed to cure any illness or any symptom, and these statements have not been
evaluated by the FDA.
And you basically use it at your own risk.
Yeah, and why can't they just put that on?
I'd be fine with that for marijuana.
Because I already knew it was use it at your own risk. Anybody who's taken any drug knows it's use it at your own damn risk.
Just given such a long safety profile for cannabis, there's no reason why it can't be treated like these nutraceuticals. But as long as we are stuck in the frame of medicine, medical, FDA, it's going to move toward just moving it down the schedule, having cannaceuticals given to us instead of allowing us access to the whole plant. I love the medical aspects of marijuana, but don't forget that it's a human right. We got to legalize it for any use, spiritual, industrial, recreational, medical,
whatever.
It's one plant, one people, one love.
Nation under
And it's 420!
Yes.
Yay!
On 710.
Oh, have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. Have you ever met that funny reefer man? A reefer man. If he said he swam to China, he would sell you South Carolina. Then you know you're talking to that reefer man.
On an all-new intervention.
Mark, welcome home. Please come, join us.
Mark hasn't smoked weed in about 10 days, and I'm worried about him. I can't watch him destroy himself.
I'm fine, okay? This is none of your business.
Shh. Come, Mark. We're only here because we care.
I'm in control. That's what they don't get, is that I can start smoking weed anytime that I want to. I just don't feel like it right now.
At first he was, just skipping a day here and there. But then it got more and more consistent, and then he just wasn't smoking any weed at all.
Mark, we haven't smoked a joint together in like 3 weeks, man. I don't know who you are anymore. Your short-term memory is incredible. I just can't sit back and watch someone destroy their own lives with horrible decisions.
See you guys. Stupid, I'm getting out of here.
Hey,
don't touch me!
It hurts me a lot, What do you do for someone that you care about that is ruining their own life? What do you do?
He's not showing any signs of starting.
Intervention on A&E.
Oh yeah, music from town. That's Hail the Leaf. Some of that Rockin' Friday music that you'll hear on the Herb Thrasher Flower Hour every Friday, 8 p.m. Pacific. 2 hours of live thrash, metal, doom, rock, and bluegrass.
Hillbilly, yeah. Good stuff.
If they play guitar fast, we'll play it on Herb Thrasher. Hey, we got some breaking news to bring to you. So excited to bring you this news from Jody Emery, her official Twitter account and her Facebook page, in all caps, as it should be. Mark has been approved for transfer by the U.S. government. Oh my God, now Canada has to make a decision. That's right. Now, Mark Emery's early transfer date, which would have been if he served 85% of his sentence, he could have been, or early release date, I should say. If he'd have served 85% of his sentence for good behavior, he could have been getting out July 9th, 2014. So yesterday we were celebrating that he had 1 year left. But now, based on this, I'm just wondering, this transfer means an immediate transfer where he'd get to serve out his sentence in Canada, or how that's going to work. And again, all we've got is the information, just that one announcement from Jody Emery's Twitter account, at Jody Emery. And we're just really excited. I'm going to share that, retweet that out to everybody else in the world.
And you want to give a little bit of backstory on who Mark Emery is?
Of course.
He was, if you, in case you don't know, if you're new to the movement,
that's right. Mark Emery was the
imprisoned.
Was the head of the Cannabis Culture magazine, based in British Columbia, and sold seeds. And basically, what he got busted for was selling viable pot marijuana seeds to Americans. And people. Well, he's selling all over the world.
It was all over them.
But it was only America that had a big problem with it.
America said, you can't sell seeds to us. We have to buy ours from Monsanto.
Now, Mark had never set foot in the United States.
Yep.
Now, he'd done a lot of stuff in Canada, and his activism stuff isn't just pot activism either. He's done a lot of stuff, but it never set foot in the United States, right? So basically, you'd think that's a person who's under Canadian jurisdiction, right? He's in Canada. Now, the United States may not like him selling pot seeds into the United States, but that's the United States problem. In Canada, what he was doing, if convicted under Canadian law, is something that's a $200 fine. $200 fine. In the United States, 5-year mandatory minimum.
Yeah, because we have those lovely mandatory minimums for
which Canada and Harper,
non-violent crimes.
And Canada, the Prime Minister and Harper is trying to get those. I think they may have passed some of them. I don't follow my Canadian politics as well as I should, but I think some of them passed. Was that Bill S-10? I think it was. Anyway,
screw him.
I digress. So anyway, Mark Emery, the United States DEA pressured the Canadian government to reach into Canada and extradite him from Canada to the United States in Seattle, federal district that was there in Seattle, for the purposes of prosecuting him for selling marijuana seeds in the United States, and the Canadian government went along with it. Okay, we wouldn't want to get all upset about this. So here you go. Here's one of our citizens. You know, he violated one of your laws that we'd only give a ticket for, but that's what this is about. So here you go. You can have him. Really, Canada? Really?
Yeah.
The United States is you're
a little disappointed.
A little disappointed in that for Canadian sovereignty. But anyway, so the United States reached up, had him extradited, and brought him to Seattle Federal District Court, where John McKay, the U.S. attorney, prosecuted him for the selling of seeds, gained a federal conviction, 5-year mandatory minimum, which sent him to Yazoo City, Mississippi, where Jody flies on a weekly basis as she can from one corner of the continent to the other corner of the continent to visit her husband. Now, a little interesting part of the story that John McKay, the U.S. attorney who secured the conviction that put Mark Emery in jail for 5 years, was a major supporter, that is, of I-502 to legalize marijuana in Washington State. Isn't that amazing? So, we have the guy that put Mark Emery in jail, even thinks it should be legal, and worked hard to make it more legal. It's not as legal as we'd like yet, but to make it more legal. What Mark did wouldn't be legal still, but, work in the right direction. So if indeed the U.S. government has finally relented and approved a transfer for Mark Emery to return to Canada, then we are really excited about that. That's great news, man.
Excellent.
Fantastic news. Thank you, Jody, for that update and for all the great work you're doing.
And Jam Band Fan for alerting us to that breaking news.
Yes. And by the way, we also thank Jody and the folks up at pot.tv who rebroadcast our shows and post them online for us. Thank you. We love our Canadian fans.
Yes, we do.
And some of them even come down here and take me out on the town.
Yeah. Well, he took the long way around.
That's right. A few cities before getting here. Absolutely. All right. So there were some other other items I wanted to get to that we had covered in the news. So let me come back in here. Oh, and by the way, we got a phone line. It's 971-533-7111. If you're listening on TuneIn, you're listening on your media player, Ustream, however you're listening, you can call in. And you don't have to call in live. It's also a voicemail. So you can call 971-533-7111 and leave voicemail for the show. We'll play them here, and people can hear what you have to say. Do we have a voicemail on that one?
Let's take a look here.
Let's see. Nope.
Nope, just a text.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. And also, got a lot of friends, I think, from the chat room and listeners to the show that we'll get to see in Denver for the 710 Cup. We will get to Tinctura Cultivar, who we met in Dallas-Fort Worth, going to be there for the event. Coral Reefer, going to be there for the event. Daniel DeSales from Top Shelf Extracts. I don't know who. Grey Wolf's going to the Denver thing tonight, though, I think. But I'm sure there's going to be a whole bunch more. Oh, Lively Libra. How can I forget? Lively Libra will be at the event. So we'll be dabbing with Libra. And Libra, I will bring this thing. This is my little Da Vinci vaporizer. It's pretty cool so far. When you turn it on, right, you get... Oh, gotta turn the right side up. You get a little video thing there, and it's a little temperature gauge for and that's raising up 100 degrees, 105, 110, right, heating up that little chamber. So I really want to test this out, and I think the 710 Cup would be the perfect place for me to test this out. big thanks to Da Vinci for sending this. This is the Ascent model, and I still want to talk. I'm still going to talk to the owner. I've got his phone number. I've just been so busy I haven't gotten around to talking to him because we're going to do a full scale review on this. But for now, I mean, I'm digging it. I like, one of the things I like about it. It's hefty, it's kind of big, and that to me says lots of battery power. That says me it's going to stay, keep charged for a long time. Because I'm all for, these cell phones have gotten smaller and smaller, but one of the problems is they use more juice and they have less battery. Yeah. So I want a vaporizer that's, kind of like this. I like the size of this thing. It's got a little straw that comes out of it too. A little glass straw. So we will try this out at the 710 Cup.
Very cool. Let's see here.
Oh, the story that we did on the Australian Expert to reduce binge drinking by legalizing marijuana is a tacit recognition that, given the choice, teenagers would rather smoke pot than drink beer. At least the way he's framing it, right?
Yeah.
He's suggesting that we legalize marijuana to protect teens, from binge drinking. And he acknowledges many times how alcohol is the most dangerous drug in society. This is wonderful stuff coming out of Australia. And this is also why, when we have these discussions on legalization and we have these opponents that get up and they say, well, if we legalize marijuana, the price will drop substantially. There'll be more access for teens and more teen use. And I'm not sure that's a bad thing.
And I'm not sure it's a true thing about the teen use increase.
I think a lot of the teens that want to smoke already are.
Yeah, you can't, it's like what, maybe 1 or 2 more per high school are going to try it,
Right.
And it's not going to be a substantial increase, if any.
If any. But if there was, it's not a stat.
It'd be far less detrimental to society.
Well, I think it's a stat that doesn't happen in a vacuum. And the way that this Australian expert, his name's Robin Room, the way he's talking about reducing binge drinking is exactly the point I always make. Okay, let's say teen use goes up a little. Did binge drinking go down? Did drunk driving accidents go down?
Yes.
Did alcohol overdoses go down?
Was it a fair trade-off for the societal harm,
Are there fewer, OxyContin in the school? Are there fewer kids that are dropping pills
Are there
instead?
fewer kids that are being prescribed random prescriptions for their ADD or for their depression or for their, whatever?
That's the other aspect of this that is so troubling, especially when, that the rant piece that we did on the kid with epilepsy and everything, and the controversy over medical marijuana in our kids. Really, you want to be scared about a controversy when our children are probably the most drugged children of any generation in any country in the history of mankind.
Yep.
Our kids are on all manner of drugs. We start them out on juice drinks. And if you don't think sugar's a drug, let me babysit your 3-year-old and give him a Mountain Dew. You'll learn how sugar and caffeine are drugs.
Yes.
They are drugs. Sugar is a substance. Caffeine is a substance.
Yep.
Now, we don't smoke them. We don't inject them. We don't snort them. So people don't think of them as drugs. But they are every bit as drug-like as drugs are. Now, I'm not going to say sugar's like heroin. No, heroin's much more powerful. But if you look at the way brains react when they're given sugar, if you look at the way people's behaviors are with and without sugar, the withdrawals they can go through, all of the hallmarks that people associate with drugs, tolerance, addiction, withdrawal, craving, all of those things apply to sugar, and they apply to caffeine. So we start our kids on drugs real early. And then they get to the fast food, you get to the Happy Meals, you get your fats, you get your trans fats and things like that, which also have certain drug-like characteristics.
And salt.
There are scientists whose entire job is to figure out how to make a potato chip more addictive.
Yep.
They've found that potato chips are one of the most addictive things because of the texture, because of the salt, because of the fats. There's a whole science to it. Did you know, by the way, since we're talking about it, the orange stains you get on your fingers from eating Doritos or Cheetos don't have to be there. No. They made that on purpose. They specifically designed Cheetos to give you those orange fingers for the branding of it, for the experience of it.
Yeah, and so that you would lick your fingers, and there's probably some addictive substance in there.
There you go. Well, oral fixation thing, however you want to put it together. So, and that's just the drugs that we consider food in this society. When we come back from break, we'll talk a little bit about the drugs that we're putting the kids on. The Adderalls, all the prescriptions for every single thing, for any sniffle, for any allergy. Boy, there's a pill, there's a shot, there's something we can give the kid. You find me a drug-free kid in this country, I'd like to meet him.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
We'll be right back after these messages from our 420 friendly sponsors. Support these advertisers because their ad money goes straight to the Russ Belville Show. You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.
It's simply business. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business. It's simply business, you know why they won't let us grow. It's simply business.
I have the freedom to think however I want. This is the United States of America, and I think I'll let Terry do the thinking for me. Terry Joyce puts the probe back in prohibition. Terry Joyce knows more about conspiracy theories than anyone in the United States of America, and that's because she makes up most of them. Terry Joyce can host a show like no one's ever seen. But that's only because no one's ever seen her host a show before. That's why I'm asking you to watch the Hollywood Hempress Hour with Terry Joyce. And you can trust me because I'm a warlock. Witch's honor.
Chapter from the book of Joel. It's about life. Pay attention. Preserve your feelings in your soul. That's all I know. Listen, baby. Only 5 years young when I lost my mama. Skyscraper turned suicidal to all of this drama. Papa cheated on Rosa Wild, puffing nothing but Doja now. Family scattered all over, left me alone. Wow. At 17 I grew up and had a kid of my own. Out the womb came the prettiest flower to ever bloom, Erica Angelina. Call her my little cougar. She's 21 now, about to push one through. And guess what? That makes me a granddaddy under 40 with a shorty, still looking so clean and sassy. Pass that on and make sure she's classy. A princess to worship to keep her happy. The same wishes that I had as your daddy. That's why I light up a candle and always pray for your happiness. But also know.
Oh yeah, welcome back. 38 after the hour. That's Ignite with the Book of Joel. We were just looking at the chat room and someone was mentioning stereotypers, talking about the bees. Yeah, we had this happen. It was out at Wilsonville, wasn't it? Or
yeah, it was in Wilsonville,
which is south
of here. Yeah. And there was a target that they found. I think it was 25,000 approximately dead bumblebees. It might not have been just bumblebees, but it was pretty bad. And it was linked to this pesticide that I believe was known as Safari. And it's an industrial pesticide that they had sprayed on the trees in the surrounding the parking lot. There's currently an investigation here in Oregon. They've had a temporary ban on the sale and use of pesticides that include the main component. I can't quite remember what that was, But
I'm pulling this up on Guardian Express. Oregon Department of Agriculture is banning over 18 pesticides containing dinotefuran.
Yeah, dinotefuran. Yeah.
Dinotefuran, which has been linked to honeybee die-offs in Wilsonville and Hillsborough. The Oregon Department of Agriculture Director, Katie Koba, reports, quote, I have directed the agency to take this step in an effort to minimize any potential for additional incidents involving bee deaths connected to pesticide products with this active ingredient until such time as our investigation is completed and we have more information. Conclusions from the investigation will help us and our partners evaluate whether additional steps need to be considered.
So, basically, that's where we're at. We're, they've suspended the use of all dinotefuran products here in Oregon, and they've set out traps so that they can monitor certain bees to see if they're being affected by them.
Yes, it says, according to Wikipedia, looking this up, it's an insecticide developed by Mitsui Chemicals for control of aphids, whiteflies, thrips, leafhoppers, leaf miners, sawflies, mole cricket, white grubs, lace bugs, bilge bugs, beetles, mealybugs, and cockroaches on leafy vegetables. However, it says, in order to avoid harming beneficial insects such as bees, it should not be applied during bloom.
Which is this time of year.
Okay. How'd that happen?
Yeah, so they're investigating. They think that it was the company that they hired to maintain the tree line, the arborists or whatever, that had used the pesticide. So, ongoing investigation, just slow going, because, it's not like it's important like a drug bust,
Yeah, really. But
it's just the future of society and all edible plants.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is when this bee thing happened in Oregon, people in Oregon have a pretty good idea how that affects the ecosystem. But maybe you listeners out there don't have quite the clue. If the bees go, we go.
Yeah, pollinators are important. There was a quote from like over 100 years ago that says, if the bee population dies off, then mankind will die off within 10 years of that. And I think it's totally true. It's a kind of grim prediction, but it's total BS that there are people that are, stopping these natural insects just because, they don't like them. Oh, sorry, you've evolved alongside of us for generations and generations, or were created alongside of us, generations ago, and no, you just aren't meant to be here. Kind of like some people's position on weed.
Now, there's another thing that's happening in the marijuana business that needs to be brought up as well. Just yesterday, Vicente Fox, the former president of Mexico, who, from, 2000 through 2006, helped, escalate the war in Mexico. And then as soon as he got out, went, oh, yeah, this is awful. We shouldn't do this. I love it when they're former guys.
Yeah.
That get such cojones about ending the war on drugs. But anyway.
We've seen what was happened.
Now he wants to cash in.
Yeah, because he caused what happened.
Now he wants to cash in. Former President Vicente Fox met with cannabis advocates in San Francisco, including Steve D'Angelo and Jamin Shively, the former Microsoft guy, getting together to talk about, forming their big marijuana. The big marijuana that... we're supposed to be worried about, that Patrick Kennedy says is so awful. They're forming the big marijuana, right? Well, here's a warning about this. This is coming from David Major, or Mager, I'm not sure, but it's in the HuffPost business section. Don't invest in medical marijuana public companies just yet. And he points out the fact that people could go to jail for this. And here's the quote. Legalizing marijuana and welcoming it into the mainstream makes too much sense not to happen. But it's not going to happen today. First off, the anti-marijuana establishment has too much at stake. The Drug Enforcement Agency employs over 10,000 people and has an annual budget of $3 billion. The U.S. has spent over $1 trillion fighting the drug war, with over half of federal inmates in jail on drug-related charges. In 2009 alone, 1.66 million people were arrested on drug charges in the U.S., with 4 out of 5 merely for possession. And so the point he's making here, the Controlled Substances Act still provides criminal penalties for those aiding and abetting the growing and selling of marijuana. That means that if you invest just $1 in purchasing a share of a public company involved in the medical marijuana space, the federal government could arrest you.
Oh, goody. Yay.
That, to me, makes investing in a public medical marijuana company not a good idea. Yet, there are existing public companies involved in medical marijuana, and the minute one of them is successful enough to show up on the radar, some hungry and ambitious federal prosecutor is going to go after them. So, bottom line, don't invest in a medical marijuana company, even on a small scale, unless you're okay with the possibility of spending time in a federal penitentiary. Well, here's the problem. This is where the rubber meets the road, and money talks and bullshit walks, right? And there's a lot of money on the federal government side in maintaining prohibition, but there's an increasing groundswell of money on the other side to begin legalization and to have the market and everything take place there. Now, I know how the federal government could win. No, so come close, right? Don't tell anyone else. Don't let Obama know this. I can tell you how the federal government can maintain marijuana prohibition and put the brakes on this moving toward legalization. It's real simple. Get people jobs. That's it. That's it. That's the secret, right? Part of this is driven by the fact that there's no freaking work out there. And what work there is out there, piss tests. There's plenty of that going on, Brian.
Yep. Hey, and like I was saying, a friend of mine, was telling me the other day, well, hey, why don't you just go and apply at one of those places, buy one of those clean out drinks or, packages so that you can pass that initial piss test. It's not the initial piss test I'm worried about.
Right.
It's like, if I wanted to, I could circumvent that. But I don't want to break that trust between the employer-employee relationship, which they're obviously throwing out the window when they ask me to pee in a cup.
Or when you're in a job that has some risk of physical injury,
yeah,
you fake the pee test, you get through the pee test, and so you got the job, and now you're at work, and you slipped on the floor, and you cracked your back or something.
Yeah.
And the first thing they do is they do the drug test, which you're not prepared for because you already passed your drug test.
And if it was an actual accident,
they've got to do the drug test. They find out you got pot in your system, and guess what? You don't get workman's comp, and you're fired. And now you got a broken back and no health care and no job.
And you're possibly liable for damages that occurred on the workplace or suspect to thievery investigations that you probably had nothing to do with.
Yep. So an alternative to this, if you faked the pee test to get the job that has the random drug test or the for-cause drug test, is to wear a plastic cock all day.
Yeah.
With a bag of urine taped to your thigh. Lots of people doing that.
Yep. Yeah, I would love to walk around with a bag full of fake piss. That just would make my day. That would make my job so much more enjoyable, and I would be such a more productive worker if I had the daily threat of, having my livelihood stripped away from me for something I do on my own time.
So that's how, if they wanted to blunt the effect of this rolling tide of legalization, get people jobs, because part of what is making this take off so well is it makes money. Money literally grows on trees, and people have jobs. When I was there in Denver, and I'm touring River Rock MMC, I saw 40, 50 happy people with jobs they loved.
Yeah, doing things they love. They're working with plants, or they're, most of them were working with plants.
And they don't spend all their money on weed and bongs and shit. They buy movie tickets. Yeah. They buy gasoline. They buy groceries.
They're able to live lives. They can go out on a Saturday night. They've got a little tiny bit of disposable income.
They rent homes.
Yeah.
They buy homes.
People like me, that term disposable income doesn't exist.
There is no disposable
There's no
income.
such damn thing. It is like, I say that I live underneath the barrel because
there's no bottom.
There's no bottom for me.
Underneath the barrel, that's luxury. Yeah. We lived in a shoebox. We woke up 2 hours before we had to get up to work 27 days in the mine. Sorry, we went all Monty Python on you for a second.
Right, that can happen here. This is a silly, silly place. No, far too silly.
Far too silly. Hey, let's pull up a song, take a little break
At
here.
least we can still have a little bit of fun with it.
Yeah,
you know.
Just a random top up. There you go. Pop that. All right, little Hannibus, Hoodie Monks. We're going to take a break with the Hoodie Monks because, while we have 420 and 710, in Japan, they got 831.
Yep.
So maybe I'll tell you about that when we come back. Stick around.
On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne. On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne. On the road home, 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 down, on the road home, die.
まるでダイヤモンドのように今日も一層輝いてるクリスタル量もほどほどに程よく濃くしてどうもお疲れ様明日またを一人車でオンザロードホームさっき巻いたやつともう一本の方危険想像以上の飛びに SOS で Just Time 表にレイ
On the road home, on the road is home. When your home is the road, then you're always on the road home. On the road is Shikoku. A hen roast and Datsu, no house to go home to. A hoodie monk for life, just like I told you. It's etched in my skin by my main man, Old New Ink. What you think? Always stink of pink fumes, blunt smoke and pink.
夜明けのスモークイケイケのチープマックの駐車場で煙ドリンク What you think? 危ねハンドリング朝からふとするアドレナリン半ば強引にあげるこのざま葉巻の中身でまんばらな灰皿ブランド一本炊いててんだら寝るまでずっと上がっていてんだわ
On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne. On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne. On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne. On the road home, rolling with a homegrown, high-grade, high-life Hannibus on the throne.
On the road home, とある駅のホーム赤く染まった目隠すように深くかぶったキャップまるで鉄板のように圧縮されラップに巻かれて匂いをバムスペ我慢できずトイレです癖グリーン車悲壮のこと解放してくれ
四国でウォーキング変動とトーキングステンションのマーキングいつもスパーキング The bong, light it up all day long. Fast pace going strong, Cheech and Chong. Sing along as we spark the bong. It's called the gong and it starts with a gong.
寺の鐘が鳴る生きてりゃ歯がも減る静けさが増す道草く何度も目にした風景のループ生きてきた街が俺たちのルーツ寺の鐘が鳴る生きてりゃ歯がも減る
I gotta say, Hannibus is my favorite Japanese rapper. Alright, so he's the only Japanese rapper I know, but by definition, that makes him my favorite. That's Hannibus featuring Hoodie Monks. We got some new music from Gomeo somewhere, too. I'm gonna have to pull some of that up. He gets in touch with me every now and then to fill me in. And, I'm building this kind of travel map as I, fight for marijuana legalization. I've been kind of jokingly saying that I want to do all 50 states by 2016 and speak and present in all 50 states. And again, I've got a marketing person who's going to help me with that a little bit too, putting together a speaking tour. Apparently I need to write a book. So I guess in my spare time, I'll write a book.
Spare time?
Yeah, I'll write a book. So anyway, it turns out I might be able to add Louisiana to the list.
Oh, Louisiana.
In December. There's something come up on my radar today. It's like the North Carolina harm reduction people sent me something about the Southern Harm Reduction Conference that's going to be in Nolens, Louisiana.
Nolens,
in December.
Louisiana.
I think it's like the second, it's a Thursday, Friday thing too. It's really weird. It's like the 12th and 13th of December, something like that. So I'm going to check it out. The registration's only like $60 to attend this thing. The problem would be finding a place to stay. So I'm going to put the word out right now. I don't know if I know anybody in New Orleans. I really don't know. But
anybody around NOLA in Louisiana in December can put up Russ.
I would appreciate it.
Be much obliged.
I'd be much obliged to be able to cover that event. And I'm also real interested in getting out of the United States. And so it's July right now. got to start trying to find a way to make it to Amsterdam for the Holland Cannabis Cup. You have to distinguish now the Holland Cannabis Cup versus the U.S.
Holland
Cannabis Cup. See if we can pull that off. So, trying to get big name sponsors so Brian and I can make it to these things, bring more equipment, have better equipment. Oh, and another update. My gear, my banner, and my suitcase and stuff. I don't know. We'll see. It'll get here someday. Apparently it's in Tennessee now.
What the hell?
Because some major FedEx way station there. And then on its way back to Dallas, and then on its way to me here.
They had to inspect it properly at several locations before it made its way back to Potland.
Yep. Those are Radical Russ's jeans. There could be weed in them.
Yeah. Oh man, we gotta go over this shit with a fine-tooth comb. Any trace,
Oh my God.
that'll say that he's been trafficking this stuff through, across state lines.
All right. Hey, there was a story also. We briefly mentioned it in talking to Dr. Mitch on Monday, but it was just through the form of a question. But I finally found the news story that it came from. And this was out on Live Science, where they said, long-time marijuana use linked with decreased motivation. The old amotivational theory rears its ugly head, right?
Yeah, we were just talking about this with the whole lack of jobs that,
Yeah. Oh, and there was also, I think New York Daily News phrased it as, surprise, marijuana makes you lazy. Or something like that. Right?
Jackasses.
Right. So, all right. This is researchers in the United Kingdom scanned the brains of 19 regular marijuana users and 19 non-users of the same sex and age using positron emission tomography, or PET scans, which helps measure the distribution of chemicals throughout the brain. So this is the old-fashioned, yellow, orange, purple brains that they show you. Oh, there's a hole in the brain, but really what they're showing you is spots in the brain where there's not as much of a certain chemical.
Yeah,
right? But they never phrase it that way. They say holes and make people think there's actually literally physical holes in your brain.
Which is fucking ridiculous.
Right. All right. But anyway, they found that the long-term cannabis users tended to produce less dopamine, a feel-good chemical in the brain that plays an important role in motivation and reward-driven behavior. But again, we have no indication as to whether or not these people's dopamine levels were checked before they ever started smoking pot. This goes along with my hypothesis that there are some of us, because I know people who like to smoke pot, like they'll smoke it. They're like, oh, pot, this is great. But they're not really potheads. Like, they'll smoke pot if it's at a party, but otherwise it's not really a part of their life. And then there's me, and then there's Brian, and the people we know for whom it's not just smoking pot. Pot's a part of our lives.
It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
It's.
But beyond lifestyle, where I'm getting at this is that I believe people like us are just wired differently. And the use of cannabis isn't so much a high as is a normal, as is a get to the part we're supposed to be. And if these cannabis users that they studied in Britain had lower levels of dopamine, I think if we find that, if we had a way of going back and checking their dopamine levels before they started pot, I'll bet they had low levels of dopamine then too. And the use of pot was in reaction to feeling depressed or having low motivation or whatever it might have been. This is amazing to me because for me, my motivation is smoking a bowl. Right? Because I got to think and write and be creative, and sometimes you get that writer's block, but not me. I don't get writer's block. I smoke a bowl.
Yeah, I couldn't go out and, teach kids and adults how to build computers on a daily basis if I didn't have my cannabis. It, keeps me social.
They also said brain changes are likely reversible. Previous studies did not find differences in dopamine production between former marijuana users and people who were never regular users of marijuana. Yeah, we'll see. I still think we have less receptors. I think there's something different about us. But really, this is like that, marijuana's got carcinogens, but it doesn't cause cancer.
Yeah.
Maybe marijuana does affect the dopamine levels, but I feel pretty damn motivated. You're pretty motivated. I know a lot of motivated people on marijuana. Let's judge the people by their actions, not by their chemistry. That's all the time we got for today. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Have a great 710. For Brian the Red, I'm Radical Russ. And until next time, take care of each other, tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it.